بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. We looked at Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu briefly, and he had a very brief khilafah, 2 years and 3 months. And then we looked at Umar radiyallahu anhu, 10 years and 6 months. Uthman radiyallahu anhu had the lengthiest period of khilafah, 12 years. And towards the end of his khilafah, what is referred to as al-fitnatul kubra, the great fitna, trial, tribulation, it erupted. And I mentioned that it was a number of things that led to it. That lots of new people were accepting Islam. They did not appreciate certain things. There was also that many a time, because Islamic rule was expanding so fast, that some of the old, what you would call in English, civil servants of the previous, normally it was the Romans, the Byzantines, they would be kept in their positions for ease of administration. It's like here, when government changes, at the moment you've got labor, it could be reformed tomorrow. The machinery of government remains the same usually. The civil service, the cabinet ministers, sometimes at the very top, people are shifted around for political reasons, but generally the machinery of government remains the same. So down here as well, for ease, some of the old civil servants were kept. Now they had just accepted Islam. They were used to administrating in a manner which was at times not ethical. So obviously there were grumblings about this as well, that they're not being fair, they're not being just, etc. One of the biggest things which actually made Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu anhu cry at the end, towards the end of his khilafah, is the abundance of wealth. That is also a great fitna. Wealth can be good for a person and it can be dangerous for a person. So Umar bin Khattab actually cried, especially when they conquered Sham. You know, Sham, fertile land, beautiful land, full of fruits, etc. And a lot of wealth was in Sham that came into the control of Muslims. He actually cried and he said, this will be the downfall of my ummah. So all these things led to Uthman radiyallahu anhu's assassination. One thing which I forgot to mention, and which one brother was asking me about yesterday, so I thought I'll mention it. You know, the rebels who surrounded his house, they initially came to Medina, and Uthman radiyallahu anhu listened to their grievances. And he said, we will take action. And then they left. Now some people who wanted to create further mischief, they thought, our plan has not succeeded. These rebels, they've come, they've actually negotiated with Uthman radiyallahu anhu, and now they've gone back. So what someone did was that he wrote a letter and he forged the seal of Uthman radiyallahu anhu. And in the letter it was written that these people who came to Medina from Egypt, etc., to talk to Uthman radiyallahu anhu about their grievances, they should be, slaughtered, executed, basically. And the whole purpose of the letter was that it gets discovered, which it was, and there was a hue and cry, and these rebels then returned to Medina again. And then obviously you know what happened, the house was surrounded, Uthman radiyallahu anhu got martyred. Moving on, you know what we got to look at? We looked at the incident of Ghadir Khum yesterday, and this incident, obviously it's highly important, especially for the Shias who use it to justify that it is Ali radiyallahu anhu who was supposed to be the first Khalifa. They use this incident to justify their claim. Let's put that to one side for now. Inshallah we will come to that, and inshallah if we get time We will try to look at the current affairs as well in the Middle East, maybe one day, which are quite complicated. You know, Ali radiallahu anhu, from the very first day of his Khilafah, he was plagued with problems. He was Khalifa only for 4 years and 9 months. Very short period. But every stage of his Khilafah, unfortunately, was plagued with problems, challenges, and wars. I'll just give you a little example. Obviously, Uthman radiallahu anhu was assassinated. He is from a very powerful clan, very powerful tribe, Banu Umayyah. And then you had Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, governor of Sham for 20 years, extremely powerful person. There was also Banu Umayyah governors in Egypt. They were extremely powerful. And they demanded, and the entire Banu Umayyah clan demanded, that we want you, O Ali, as a priority, as one of your first duties, to avenge the death and assassination of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Now you got to appreciate Ali radiallahu anhu, he's just become Khalifa. He doesn't even know who is supporting him and who is not supporting him. His Khilafah is extremely shaky. For him to take action against rebels who had built up in a considerable number was difficult. So his response was, let me strengthen my Khilafah. Let me strengthen my Khilafah, and then we will definitely, look at this issue and bring the ones who committed this assassination to justice. However, this was not accepted. And what followed a year later is what we call the battle of what we call the camel, Jange Jamal, the battle of the camel. It's referred to as the battle of the camel because Aisha radiallahu anha, she was riding a camel, and that's how it came to be known. Now what you got to appreciate here is, if you look at this battle that occurred, it was Aisha radiallahu anhu on one side, Ashara Mubashara Sahaba like Zubair bin Awwam radiallahu an also with her, Talha radiallahu an also with her. So when Ali radiallahu anhu, they had gathered in Basra, I think it was Basra or Kufa, one of them, which one? Basra, I think. They had gathered there. And Ali radiallahu anhu, when he heard this, he rushes there with his army. And he negotiates with Aisha radiallahu anha. Whilst negotiations are going on, that look, and again their grievance was also this, that the assassination of Uthman radiallahu anhu, it needs to be done immediately. It needs to be avenged immediately. So these negotiations are going on, and you've got to remember there's always hot heads on both sides. And what these hot heads did was, they engaged in battle. And the battle raged. And Ali radiallahu anhu came out dominant. Aisha radiallahu anha was escorted back to Medina. Now, what I want you to understand here is, you've got Sahaba on both sides. And senior Sahaba on both sides. You've got Ali radiallahu anhu, you've got his group, and then you've got in this particular incident, a year later there was another battle, Siffin, which we will look at tomorrow inshallah. So, like I said, I started off with what? Ali radiallahu anhu, from day one, his Khilafah was plagued with problems, with challenges. Anyway, so if you look at this Jange Jamal, the battle of the camel, you've got senior Sahaba on both sides. You've got Aisha radiallahu anha, Ummul Mu'mineen, the mother of the believers on one side. These issues where you have, Sahaba, disagreements of Sahaba, etc., they are referred to as Mushajaratu Sahaba. Mushajara is an Arabic word which you can loosely translate it to as, the disagreements and the conflicts of the Sahaba which they had. And what you've got to appreciate is that our stance, the stance of the Ummah, the ulama of the Ummah, has been al-imsak amma shajara baynahum. That we have basically, imsak means, like when you stop your sehri, we call it imsak, to stop. That we don't go any further in discussion when it comes to these issues. And we accept the fact that there were Sahaba on both sides. They were all mujtahids in their approach, meaning somebody felt, I need to be with Aisha radiyallahu anha. I feel she has a stronger argument. Somebody else felt, I need to be with Ali radiyallahu anhu. I need to be with Ali radiyallahu anhu because he is the Khalifa. Do you understand? So you've got to appreciate that when it comes to mushajaratu sahaba, rather than debating and discussing who is right and who is wrong, that is not the approach of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. I told you from day one, all the Sahaba, we accept them. As-sahabatu kulluhum udul. And what does Allah say in the Quran? Radiyallahu anhum waradu an, full stop. There is no further discussion after that. So Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we adopt the middle course. Now I'll just conclude with one thing. You know, Ali radiyallahu an, when it comes to Ali radiyallahu an, there are two extremes. There's us in the middle. We accept Ali radiyallahu an as the fourth Khalifa. From the Ashara Mubashara, we hold him in very high regard. But there's two groups which went to two different extremes. There is one group, what we call in Hubbi Ali, in the love of Ali radiyallahu an, raised him so high that they said he should have been the first Khalifa. In fact, some have gone as far as to say what? He should have been the Prophet. Ya Allah. Do you understand? There's obviously always extreme elements in every sect. So in Shiaism as well, you've got some really extreme beliefs as well. So that's one extreme. Another extreme, which emerged after the next battle, which was Siffin a year later, was Bughd Ali, hatred for Ali radiyallahu anh. The Khawarij, they emerged from that battle which happened a year later, which we will look at tomorrow. They went to another extreme where they were actually on his side initially, and then they developed extreme hatred for him. So you've got two extremes, and then you've got us in the middle path, that we accept all the Sahaba to be upright and honest and just and adil, etc. And the conflicts that happen, mushajaratu sahaba, we don't basically discuss and debate right and wrong. Yes, we can discuss it from a historical perspective like we are doing now. But who was right, who was wrong, that is not our prerogative. You know, a mujtahid, I mentioned this word, a mujtahid is someone who makes effort and tries to derive a ruling for some issue, okay, where you don't find the ruling in Quran, Hadith. Okay, हमारे Hazrat Mufti Javed sahab बैठे हुए हैं, our mujtahid. You go to ask him a contemporary mas'ala, maybe about Bitcoin. So he's got to sit down. He's not going to find Bitcoin in Quran, Hadith, is he? Okay, so he's got to sit down and come to some sort of ruling, judgment. He's got to scratch his head, look at other precedences, look for something similar, and come to some sort of judgment. A mujtahid is rewarded twice. One for making effort, and one for getting the answer right. And even if he gets the answer wrong, he still is rewarded because of the effort he made. Exact same with the Sahaba. We regard all of them as mujtahideen. Some did ijtihad, they felt we need to be on this side. Some did ijtihad, they felt we need to be on this side. So that's how we treat these disagreements and the conflicts of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to tread in the footsteps